Okay, so now the TrackerSled superstructure is complete. Last time we had pretty much seen the platform here. The pontoon skis both have been ballasted with water. So at that point we were able to construct both the posts, the pivot arms, the purlins, and install all 28 bifacial PV panels. So again, there's 28 of these, each 400 watts. So the entire TrackerSled that you're seeing here produces 11.2 kilowatts at capacity, or rated nameplate capacity. I do want to be clear that everything from that platform up, these are commercial trackers made by RBI Solar, called Sunflower 2. And these essentially operate on these pivot arms, which are seesaws, that are connected to a motor that's at the far end of the tracker, so that these will move following the sun east to west on a daily basis. We'll now zoom in on a couple details of the integration of the RBI Solar tracker. Okay, so we're at the middle post of the west-facing tracker above this pontoon ski. And above this middle post, I'd like to show you a detail here. Again, this is RBI Solar's Sunflower 2. This is actually the gearbox here, which is the pivot point at which this pivot arm rotates about. It's also the center, right, of the drive shaft that's coming from the motor that I'll show you next at the extreme end of the TrackerSled. What's interesting about this gearbox is that for every rotation of the drive tube here in the axle, right in the middle of that gearbox, the gear that actually operates the movement of that pivot arm moves much slower than the rotation of the motor. This is because, of course, the entire day, right, going from east to west, this pivot arm will be moving extremely slowly. So this gearbox is set up for this unusual circumstance of just a very slow rotation of this pivot arm. The other thing I want to show you is that when RBI Solar introduced this in the spring, if you saw the other videos from TrackerSled in the spring, you'll see that we were experimenting or determining that we'd have a universal joint actually connecting sleds. This is exactly what RBI Solar devised for the Sunflower 2. So this is that same universal joint here, right, that's connecting post to post, gearbox to gearbox. This allows essentially each post to be designed identically. Of course, we're interested in this for connecting TrackerSleds that are in the same column, right? So this is a case where the universal joint drive tube is connecting posts within a sled, but these same drive tubes will connect sleds in the same column, different sleds in the same column. So essentially, this is exactly what we were looking for. So again, to reinforce, most of TrackerSled's innovations are about the mobile platform, right? The pre-engineered platform. So this is a case of a commercially developed tracker that was exactly in the same train of thought as we were exploring earlier in the spring. Okay, so we're now at the extreme end, the southern end of the west tracker here, and we're looking at the connection of the DC motor. So this is a direct current motor driven by its very own dedicated 60-watt solar panel, so-called pony panel, that I'll show you next. But this motor will drive and rotate this drive tube, right, which will connect all the posts. The important thing about this motor is it is sized to rotate not only this table, but other tables of subsequent tracker sleds up to 120 PV panels. So we only have 14 on this tracker, right? So we can continue to add and use drive tubes to connect those tracker sleds together. So you're seeing a very, very efficient use of energy, again, driven by a 60-watt photovoltaic panel that I'll show you now. Okay, so now we're at the very end of the table of 14 photovoltaic panels. Again, the panels are bifacial, right? So they'll be able to absorb reflected light off of the ground or snow as well as on top. But the idea is we're keeping these panels and the energy they produce separate from the drive motor, right? That's driving and rotating all of these. Actually, this little panel will be enough. This is 60 watts worth of power, will be enough to drive that DC motor to turn not only this TrackerSled's tracker, right, but 4 additional tracker sleds beyond that. This is a control unit that is dedicated just to this tracker. You can see the emergency stop button and so on. It's in charge mode now, right? So it's communicating with this panel here, and then we'll eventually, when we commission this, be connected to the DC drive motor. So that's pretty much the nuts and bolts of the tracker at this point. Again, in future videos, we'll show you the other communication equipment, how the control unit actually keeps track of multiple trackers in an installation. There's another detail I wanted to explain as to how we attach these photovoltaic panels. So again, there's a gap between adjacent panels. You'll see that most of these panels are installed with traditional nut and bolt, but we did take time to actually install huck bolts on a few of these panels, and these act as rivets, if you will, extremely tight in terms of compressing the panel to the purlin to counteract any vibration due to wind. So again, in future installations, this will be essentially the fastener of choice for installing the PV panels.